Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Sisters of Legacy. We're going to go ahead and do our intro, and we'll be right back. All right, ladies, we are back. Shanetta, I am going to have to alter my promo because we have got to add your face. You are our most consistent guest. We got to have your face up there smiling at the folks. So I'm going to have to get with my AV person. I mean, I did fire him last night, but so new day, brand new mercies. So, of course, tonight we have the wonderful Katrina Taylor.
Hello.
And we have our guest / permanent, Shanetta McNair.
Hey.
And I am Samantha Walker. Of course, the beautiful Tangela Terrell cannot be with us tonight, but we're going to hold it down for her in her absence. And here we are, the Sisters of Legacy. So tonight, we're going to talk about a very interesting topic. I was struggling with exactly how to word it so that it would kind of fit what I want to talk about. So it might be a little off from the topic, but it's in that general area, we'll just say. So let's see, not this Saturday, maybe last week we had a guest speaker at our church. Yes, online you can have guest speakers. So actually Tangela's husband, Elder Ephraim Terrell, he spoke and he talked about, the well-known scriptures of having the beam in your, the beam in your eye and, whatever, how you got whatever hanging out your face and you concerned with what the other person has that's wrong. And so since he talked about that, it kind of really make me dig more into kind of what I've been feeling lately, because I've kind of been thinking a lot about, the things that we say out of our mouths and the things that we mean. And I don't mean, well, me personally, I've been thinking more about things that I say and, the things that I mean and the way that I approach people and that type of thing. So when he talked about it on that Sunday, it just made me think about it even harder. And so I think, I've been thinking, like, if everyone really managed the things that come out of their mouth and the actions that they take on a personal level, the impact that would truly have in our homes, our communities, our schools, our jobs, that sort of thing. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about tonight. You hear the term, oh, I got her together quick, or I got her told, or, I gave her the business, or whatever, phrases that people use, when they feel like they've told you exactly what it is. And I've come to notice, like, even with that, when people done told you and got you together, I wonder if they use that same, that same energy. They say keep that same energy. If they keep that same energy when they're dealing with their own personal stuff. Like, the same way you can look at somebody's kid and say, oh, that kid needs beaten, or that kid needs to be sound, or that kid needs some home training? Do you look at your kids under that same light? Or is it, your kids are different, your kids are better? The same way just with how we deal with people and how we look at people. Do we use that same energy, that same measuring stick that you measure somebody else with? Do you measure yourself with that same stick? Or do you give yourself a grace? Oh, well, I'm like this because my mama was like this. So I'm like this because my daddy was like this, but when you see other people, it's definitely wrong for them to behave in a certain way. So I wanted to know what you ladies think about that, or how you feel about that, or, so jump in at any time.
I mean, I definitely believe that. Do you guys hear an echo? Okay, well, I guess it was just me. I definitely feel like we critique other people more than ourselves. And I think some of it is just that your situation, you don't know their situation. So you know that, maybe you had a hard day, all these 8 things happened to you before you got to this moment, and so then you went off on somebody. But you don't know that person had a hard day. You just, they rude. You know what I'm saying? But like what you went through, and that you just you just got finished locking your keys in the car and all this other stuff that happened to you. So, so it's easy to judge them because you don't know what their whole bad day was like before they went off on you. But then when you do it, you're like, oh, but I had this bad day. So you know what you went through. You don't know what they went through. So I think it's easy to kind of give yourself that, grace, or give yourself that break, because you know what you've been through. You don't know what that other person's been through. But I think also that as we mature and, then you start to realize, maybe they had a bad day. I know I've had bad days before, so you start to have compassion, I believe, as you mature and as you keep on living.
I think it's easy to be more forgiving of yourself than sometimes it is to be of others, that because they hurt you, because they hurt your, feelings, and you don't realize the damage that you do sometimes with the things that you say or the way that you behave. So it's easy to forgive yourself, but then it's like when the tables are turned and you need to forgive someone else for being harsh or hard or rude to you, it's kind of like, because you hurt my feelings, you made me feel this kind of way, you embarrassed me, or you did this. So I don't really know about how I feel about that. But you can make excuses for how you behave, and it's easier for you to say, well, like Katrina was saying, well, I was having a bad day, so that's why I acted the way I did, or that's why I responded the way I did. Because we kind of know what's happening in our own head, but we don't know what's going on of that other person. Now, for me, I know that I'm very hard on myself. So like I do kind of look at myself like I think more harsh than what, like, I'll tell myself, like, if I do something, I'll tell myself, like, there was really no excuse for that. You really, like, I'll kind of fuss at me more, I think, than I do. But I hold myself to a different standard than what I hold other people. And I don't expect other people to be me anymore. I used to. I used to. But I don't expect me from other people, because I've learned that everybody doesn't respond to things the same way, because everybody's experiences are different.
Right.
Okay, so, but is that fair? Is it fair? I heard y'all say, don't know what somebody else has been through. I know that I had a hard day. I don't know that you've had a hard day, but is it fair, not just to the other person, but are you being fair to yourself when you just react to the behavior and not look deeper? Like, are you being fair to yourself? Do you think you're shortchanging yourself or the person, by not taking that extra minute and just, oh, well, this is what they did, or this is what they said, or this is what happened, and not looking further? Do you think, like, in the grand scheme of things, that you're short, that is like a short change when you do that? And do you think that affects, like, your surrounding and your circle?
Do you mean, go ahead.
Sure.
Do you mean, is it fair not to take the time to find out what's going on with them? Is that your question?
Not necessarily find out, but like, how you can go in a store or something and somebody's like, as soon as you walk up to the counter and you're like, okay, you got a bad attitude, like, and when when you go home and, you may call your mom or whatever, you're like, oh, I ran into this cashier that had a terrible attitude. And let me tell you what she said, like, I think I'm saying, like, do you think that attitude that sometimes we take, do you think that's a short change for us? Like, we're shortchanging ourselves in a sense by just the thing that we're saying, or what, or our reaction to the event. Do you think it's a short change? Anthony said, are we quick to judge?
I think in that scenario, as far as like somebody I just in passing, I never really thought about it like that. Like, yeah, I'm going to be like, yeah, whatever. But I'm not going to say anything. I'm not going to judge, but I will be like, they was acting so stank at the store, and then that would be the end of it. But in my personal relationships, and people that I deal with in friendships or whatever, I think I'm more likely to try to see if there's something else going on. If they're having a bad day, or if, there's, you know what I mean? But like, if I just meet somebody in the street, I'm just gonna be like, ciao, go ahead. You know what I mean? Like, but I'm more likely in my personal relationships, if I feel like my daughter is giving me a little something, I'm gonna be like, you okay? I'm more likely to see if something else is happening than somebody I just meet on the street. And I don't know. I never really thought about it. Like, am I doing something wrong to myself or that person? Because I would never say anything to that person. I'd just be like, wow, this is what we're doing today, end the story.
I mean, because, like we've talked about, friendships and relationships, prior to, and I'm not sure if you were on here that night, Shanetta, but I remember, Trina, you're talking about like your circle's very small, like your circle of people that you consider friends. And and the same for me. I mean, this year, to be honest, it's expanded a lot. And I'm still even adjusting to that. But like, it's small, and it's really caused me to really evaluate things. So is it small because is it really you can't trust people, you can't deal with people, or is it my take or my approach on the interaction or who people are? Like, I think about, am I really giving people the chance, or am I just like, nah, you don't get no grace today? I mean, of course, you're not using that word, but in essence, well, I can say for myself, like, I'm quick with the side eye and the turn my head and like, okay, and I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Do we deal with others like how we, right? Like, well,
I am, for me, when you said my circle is small, that's how I am. And for me, I know I've literally said to somebody, I don't trust anybody until you give me a reason to trust you. So like, just off of jump, like, I'm just kind of like, I'm looking at you with the side eye just off, like, just like, hello, hi, how are you? My name is, and I'm just kind of like, okay, why you want me to know your name though? Like, why are you
right?
Like, why do you want to be around me? What are you looking for? So, like, I'm initially like very like, kind of skeptical of people and things initially. And I have to kind of get to know you and get warmed up to you before I'm like, oh, they're not so bad. They're not, okay, I can have a conversation with you. They don't want anything. They just want to be nice.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, like do some of these things, of course, unknowingly, are we really shortchanging ourselves? Because, we like, he said, I think it would be advantageous to study and practice conflict resolution in our private time at home. All right, Michael. Oh, PhD, Michael. Well, thank you for your comment. Welcome to the show. Ashley, I would like people to be more honest and not tiptoe across the truth. All right, Ashley. Oh, wait, what did she say? I find that when I'm honest, I'm told I'm being rude, but eventually you're going to have to practice that in real life. Well, and I'll say this, and I discovered this about myself too, because that was always my excuse, like for stuff. Well, I told the truth. Like people don't want to hear the truth. People rather you lie to them than to be honest. Like, I've said that, and sometimes I still say it. Like I have to be careful of saying that. And I realize it's not always that people don't want to hear the truth. I realize sometimes it's how we tell the truth. Sometimes it's when we tell the truth. And then I know for myself, sometimes it wasn't my truth to tell. Like, you know what I mean? Not that you told something somebody told you, but it's just, it wasn't my place to give you your truth. You know what I mean? Like I can tell you how I feel or how I feel about you or how I experience you, but I can't tell you what your truth is, if that makes any sense. Mm-hmm. She said, oh, for sure. It's all how you say it. Right. So sometimes, and I'll say, like I said about myself, I noticed that I've said things and it was right. It definitely was true. But, and I put that stamp of truth on it, as a justification to myself. Oh, well, it was the truth. Like you can't handle the truth, and like I really had to sit and think about some of the things, that I've said and done, even on a one-on-one experience. Like it wasn't my truth to tell.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes people have to get to that level on their own. They have to, have that hard conversation with their self. It wasn't my truth. Oh, she said, wow. Because sometimes you experience people and what you've experienced is the truth and you being honest and you giving it to them, but it's not always your truth to tell. Mm-hmm. And that has been a hard lesson, like for me, sometimes just to stand back and like, all right then, because like that, you can't tell me once I put that big old truth sticker on it, I'm like, oh, I did the right thing because it was the truth.
Yeah. I think it's learning what needs to be said and what just doesn't need to be said. And I think as I've grown up and gotten more mature, I've realized everything just doesn't have to be said. It's some things that are, as they say, better left unsaid, and you just, okay. And you kind of let the person or whoever you're dealing with kind of walk into whatever that path is for them and let them figure it out, versus just because it's the truth, I now have to say it to you. I now have to announce whatever is true. I have a 5-year-old, she's 6 now, niece, and she literally says all of the thoughts that come to her head. Like if she thinks it, she is going to say it. And so her mom has been in the process of teaching her that you can't say everything you think. So if she's in the grocery store and someone smells bad, she's going to say it. And it's like, hey, you can't just be out here, in the grocery store with me telling people that they smell bad. That's not what we do. But because she's 6, it's just kind of like, people brush off the things. But as we become real adults, we have to learn you can't say every thought that comes to your head. Like some things just can't say.
Right. And also things have to progress and evolve. So even when you feel, like you're friends with somebody or you have a relationship with them, I realize, that things still have to progress and you have to get to certain milestones and certain, certain seasons in the relationship because sometimes like okay, so I've known Trina since I was like 10 years old. Like there, I could call Trina and probably say something and she'll be like, all right, Sam, like that got on my nerves, but okay, and it'll go, and it'll be okay down the line after she, work it through her mind. Whereas, Shanetta, I haven't known you as long. So I can't be like, oh, well, Shanetta, you need to do, because it hasn't evolved to that place. It hasn't had that natural progression of closeness or that level of trust to where you can, maybe say more of what's on your heart or what's on your mind. And she said, since 10, yes, since 10, a long time. I think it's important to keep that in mind too, when we're dealing with people. Things have to progress, things have to grow. Relationships go through seasons and things change for people, and we have to be mindful of all those points. So I have a question. What is it? Look, what you trying to say, Anthony? So my question is though. So when you realize that maybe you've overstepped or said too much or whatever, this is with somebody that maybe not just a random person. What's the recourse? What do you do then? How do you clean it up? Do you just they'll be mad for 2 weeks and then they're not mad? Do you just are you the let it roll over person? What do you do? How you say something or give off an expression? Oh, I don't know. Just being aware of super sensitive people. And let me tell you, society is full of super sensitive people. I've said that too. Like, again, like I said, when I put that truth on something, like, because I'm from up north, I'm from New York, now I'm down here living below the Mason-Dixon line. Down here in the South, I say a lot of times people from the South are more sensitive than, coming from New York. And I say that a lot too. And again, though, sometimes my presentation isn't the best. And, surroundings, it means a lot too.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go back on what you said, then they'll lose respect for you. Follow up with them. But don't apologize.
I think she's saying if you tell the truth, but they take it, but they're hurt by it. I think that's what she's responded to.
Oh, you don't apologize?
I would say you might need to apologize for how you said what you said. You might need to apologize for the timing in which you said what you said. But there might need to be a conversation about what was said, depending on what the situation is and who the person is. It kind of depends on the situation. I wouldn't say never apologize for, for stating the truth, because sometimes the truth maybe just didn't need to be said at that time. And it may be something that caused more damage, and you're really apologizing for the additional damage that was caused in the situation. So you kind of have to be mindful of that.
I mean, I think you can always apologize, even if even if you meant what you said, I'm not apologizing. Like, I'm not saying, you know, like when you 3, you said, I take it back. No, I'm not taking it back. You know, I'm apologizing because it hurt you. Like, you know, my intention, I'm apologizing because my intentions weren't to hurt you. You know, maybe my intentions was, I thought telling you the truth would help, but you know, your reaction is showing it clearly, you know, it's not helping. So I'm sorry, you know, that I didn't bring, you know, help to the situation. Like, you know, I'm sorry I poured alcohol on your open wound, you know, when I thought I had some peroxide in my hand. You know, I thought it was gonna smooth it out and make it better. So I think there's always, you know, there's always room to apologize. Even when the truth has been told, like, you know, you don't apologize for telling the truth, because sometimes it's not really about even what you said, how you said it. It's just, I know it's the truth, but it still hurt me. You know, that's another thing that I've come to realize. The truth doesn't, a lot of times it doesn't make you feel any better. The truth can hurt just as much as, you know, something else. Just because it's the truth doesn't always take the sting out. You know, it still can hurt me. It's the truth, but it still hurt nonetheless. So I think you know, there's room where you can always apologize, you know, to someone, even when you feel you're not necessarily wrong. I think there's always room to apologize because you want to be empathetic to people's feelings. You know, you want to be sensitive to somebody's heart. You know, like if I care about you, if I'm a friend, or if I'm even trying to establish a friendship with you, you know, I don't want to come in like a bulldozer hurting your feelings, you know, right off the top. He said, truth can hurt even when it's gentle. Like a, what? Like a needle? What is that? That was not a good analogy, sir. Needles hurt. Needles hurt. Maybe because I guess he mean because it's medicine in the needle. I don't know. It's okay. Oh, Elder McNair, love and relationship is key. Right. That it makes a big difference. You know, in yeah, a lot of times, you know, feelings can be hurt. It can still sting.
I think people, when you, like he said, love and relationship is key. So it's like when you're in a relationship, or if it's just your family, you know, if someone knows your heart and they know your intention, I think that makes a big difference. Like if that person knows, like, I would never try to hurt you, and so they have to consider that in the whole situation. Like, you know, I know they wouldn't try, and their intention was not to. So intention, I think, is so important. Like, so sometimes you might say something and it wasn't your intention. So if that person knows going in, like, they wouldn't try to hurt me. But what you said did hurt me. But it kind of makes it better somehow. Right. You know that someone really does care about you and they really do love you. Then that's a good place to start the conversation and the healing, from that place, knowing that that person loves you and they have good intentions towards you.
Right. Ashley said the truth hurts when you're used to being called all your life. I'm going to have to disagree with you on that, Ashley. I mean, there's been lots of things people have said to me that I knew was the truth. It did not lessen the blow of it. No matter how easy you make it, it still stings. She said, my bosses are from Jersey, and at first I thought they were so mean. Now I prefer to be communicated with bluntly. I love how straightforward people are from the north. It's good to have a sounding board. Right. When you apologize for something when you're right, that's a person with leadership skills.
So I'll tell you guys a story about a girl from New York that I met. Now I'm from Michigan, and So I used to, years ago, I used to be a daycare licensing consultant with the state. So I would go around to different daycares and conduct investigations, or initially licensing visits, and then I got to the point where I was doing these investigations. And I was interviewing this girl, and she was from New York. And the allegation was something along the lines of inappropriate discipline with the kids and yelling and being aggressive with the kids. And she says to me, she's like, well, I'm from New York and that's how we talk. And that's the way, so I'm not being mean and I'm not yelling. It's just that I'm from New York and that's how we talk. Now, these are small kids. These are like, 3-4-year-old kids. She's like, this is how we talk. We're from New York. And I'm like, ma'am, I know a ton of people from New York. Everybody from New York does not say things the way that you say. So there's kind of a difference in how you it's not necessarily and it's not, I don't think it's a northern thing or a southern thing or a New York thing, New Jersey thing. I think that it's just an attitude thing, and it's all in the attitude behind what you say. And even when we're telling the truth, we have to be mindful of the attitude that we put behind it. Right. And that, I think, makes the big difference. And it was so funny because she was so serious. She was just like, well, I'm from New York and that's how everybody from New York talks. I'm like, no, ma'am, that doesn't mean you get to just yell at kids all day. Like, you can't do that. So.
Well, listen, again, because I am a New Yorker, I will say, and Trina, you can jump in here. There is, but I don't, let's just say, I don't know what she was saying for people jump on here, like whatever. So I'm just saying there is kind of like a cadence almost to how New Yorkers talk. Mm-hmm. Like, I guess that's kind of like a way of putting it. There's kind of like a cadence to it. There is. So I lived in New York. I lived in Illinois. I lived in Georgia. I've lived in North Carolina. And I can say nobody talks like me but New Yorkers. I would, there's been differences, in where I lived and how people talk. But New Yorkers do have a way that they talk. Now, of course, your attitude, I don't know, like your attitude, I guess, does make a difference. But no matter where I lived, people have said, oh, you from New York, because of the way I talk. Like, it's just, I don't know. Maybe I'm just trying to make myself feel better because I'm from New York. That very well could be the case. But I'll just say, it doesn't mean it has to be a negative connotation to it. Not like all New Yorkers are nasty. It's just that, in New York, it's kind of different. Like in New York, for the most part, Katrina, you don't walk around and you don't say hi to everybody you meet. You don't say hi up and down the street all day. You just don't. It sounds rude to people from the South, but it's a New York thing. I don't. That's the only way I can explain it. Like, see Katrina shaking her head. New Yorkers,
you might get the
right, right. Like you might get an acknowledgement, right? Somebody else, they give you the head nod, but
meanwhile,
just hi. Like, hi. Right. But then when I got to Georgia, everybody and their mama, hey, and he didn't come and they want to touch you and they want to get all in your area. Like the reality, that's not really a New York thing. And so, like when you like, oh, kind of hold up a minute, is received differently to people. But again, like I said, Trina's right there. She can tell you, but it's different, in New York. Like you can see somebody and it's like, what's up? And then they'll still see somebody else and be like, oh, I saw Sam earlier. And they'll think like you had a whole long conversation and they just give you the head nod. But like down here, you got to carve out an extra 30 minutes when you see somebody because now they want to talk. So I think, it is a bit of a difference. I will say, I mean, I don't know what crazy stuff she was saying to people kids, because I feel like no matter where you come from, you got to be careful what you say to people children.
Right.
You know, like, so she just wasn't, you know, yeah, that might have not been her calling, daycaring. You know, she said, I remember when I moved to New York, people looked at me like I was crazy when I smiled at them. I was like, what I do wrong? See, like, and that's people's take. Like, I look at you and I'm crazy. And to me, I may have looked in your general direction, but them people probably didn't even see her. Because that's just a New York. I know I'm being serious. Like, you know, you think somebody looking at you, they don't look right past you. Like, they didn't even think about it, and you feel some type of way. He said, you have to wave and hug. Oh, yeah, down here. Yeah, we don't trust you. What you smiling at? I mean, it is different. Okay, so wait. So back to my question. So if let's just say church, since we all go to church, you know, you have to be around people, church or work, because it can be work too. You know, like when you realize that maybe you've done or said something that wasn't like, maybe it wasn't your intention to be whatever, but you realize it has been off-putting to the other person. Do you address it? Or are you just like, oh yeah, I work with this girl and I don't like, you know, or I just don't talk to such. She good. Hey, praise the Lord, and you keep it moving. Like, what's your recourse? What do you do? Are you the type of person, you know, that try to figure it out, or are you the type of person, you know, you use that scripture real good? I just shake the dust off my feet and keep it moving. Because I use that one. You could tell. That's one of my justification scriptures. The Lord that just shake dust off your feet, you know. Yeah.
I think for
so
me,
what's your recourse?
I think for me, it's the relationship and the situation. If it's someone that I had a relationship with and I realized, oh, I might have said something that's too much and too far and too strong or whatever, I may, especially if I want to like keep the relationship, it might be something that we might need to go back around to, and I may need to say, hey, I think I might have offended you, and I'm sorry, you know, that I offended you because I wasn't trying to do that. Like, let's talk about this. If it's somebody that I probably really don't even, I'm like, they'll be all right. We'll figure it out. Like, they'll figure it out later. I don't know. It just, I think it depends on, but I have been one that's like, well, that's that. Hurt your feelings. Okay, go piece yourself back together. See you later. Bye. And then there have been other times where it's just kind of like, okay, need to go fix that. Let me go fix it. Let me go deal with that over there.
Trina?
I mean, if I know for sure that I did something or said something, I'll try to, you know, make sure it's okay, or, you know, say something or apologize or whatever, or try to work it out. But I find that sometimes I don't know, and I don't talk a lot. So if I did something and somebody like all of a sudden somebody's acting different toward me, then I'm just like, I'll try to think and see, did I say something? I don't know. I don't remember. But then I say to myself, well, if I said something or did something, shouldn't they say, girl, you did this or you said this? And I don't know for sure. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You need to tell me that I hurt your feelings or I did something. I might not know. And like, I struggle with that sometimes because I'll be like, all of a sudden somebody's acting different toward me or acting funny. And I'm like, so what I'm supposed to say? You acting funny toward me? Did I do something? Like, we're adults. So if I did something or said something, or should I approach her and say, you know, did I do something that I see her? Come on. If it's important to you that we heal the relationship and I did something to you, just say it and then we can work it out. You know, but if I know I did something or said something, then I'll address it and say sorry.
Anthony said, do you need a verbal acknowledgement of hurt or can you pick up on it? I mean, the truth is 9 times out of 10, more times than not, we pick up on it. And just, like Trina was saying, sometimes you just, you don't care enough to fix it. No?
I don't know. I mean, if somebody all of a sudden is acting funny toward me, and I'm saying to myself, well, maybe I did something, but I don't know. Should I go ask you? Did you? You know what I mean? I feel like. Is that what I'm supposed to say? I'm supposed to say. Oh, you think that's what I'm supposed to say? I'm supposed to say, did I hurt your feelings, Joe? I don't know. I just feel like if it's important to you, I think you'll say something.
Hey, Tawan. He said, I feel like if we're together, you're going to know when you did something that hurt or upset me. I'm not going to say anything, but my silence should make you come to me and ask if you did something. We could talk about it from that point, but you have to initiate. But that's the thing, right? Because, okay, that's another New Yorker. I just want you to know, Shanetta. That's another New Yorker. Like, I feel like, what? If we both stand on the, oh, you need to tell me, or, oh, you didn't tell me, then, where do we meet in the middle? And then the reason that I'm asking, and the reason that, we even having the conversation is because I feel like our communities are so fractured and so separated, and I feel like it's all of our responsibilities to figure out, what little piece we can do to try to make it better. I think that if everybody adopts that attitude, what can I do today, whatever today is, like when I wake up, tomorrow's Wednesday, when I wake up on this Wednesday, what can I do, in my community, like, the part of my life that is community. Don't be making that face, Katrina.
I mean,
Elder McNair said, I disagree. Oh, disagree with what? That they should come to you, or which part do you disagree with? I mean, just how do we fix our communities? Like, how do we?
Why should I have to try to figure it out, though? Why should I have to try to figure it out if you already know what it is that's bothering you? Then tell me why I gotta sit here and try to rack my brain, try to figure it out. Are you okay? What's going on? Did I do something? Just tell me.
This is my
please just tell me.
It's not a blanket type of way in a relationship.
I mean, I'll say to you, is everything okay? Did I do something? If it's obvious that there's a shift or you're acting funny or whatever, did I do something to you? Is everything all right? I'll do that. But if you just gonna act funny and not say anything,
I know I had a situation this past summer. My sisters and I, we talk all the time, and one of them had overstepped a boundary. And I was really hurt. I was really, really bothered. And I chose to sit in being bothered with her and not, so I stopped calling. I stopped texting for a couple of days. It didn't last very long because we talk all the time, so it couldn't last very long. But it was like a couple of days and I was like, well, I'm not texting, I'm not calling. I'm annoyed, I'm bothered. She hurt my feelings. She made me mad. She overstepped the boundary. And after a couple of days of that, I was like, okay, either you're going to say something or this is going to kind of grow into something much, much bigger. So I literally, like, she was calling and I would like decline her call and act like I was busy or whatever for a couple of days. So finally she called and I picked up the phone and she was like, hey, what are you doing? And I was like, nothing. And so we kept talking and I was like, look, I'm mad. And she was like, what are you mad about? And I'm like, so I began to tell her, and she was like, so it wasn't even like that. And we kind of got into the conversation, but it took me saying to her, because she was oblivious to the fact that I was mad at her. She really thought I was busy. I wasn't. So she literally was oblivious to the fact that I was mad at her. And finally she got to the place where she was like, oh my, when I told her, she was like, But that's not how it was. Let me tell you. So now I got the other side of it. And now I'm not mad at her and I'm not looking at her funny because of the situation. But now I see it from a different perspective and not just my hurt feelings. So we were able to kind of fix it and mend it. But I had to communicate what was wrong because she was living life like everything was normal. She had no idea. So it was a matter of me communicating that you offended me, you bothered me, you made me upset. And I think vice versa. There have been times where they've come to me or other people have said to me, hey, you hurt my feelings. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even know. Like, okay, what happened? Let's talk about it.
So people that are easily offended have been snake bitten so much they start taking everything serious. I mean, sometimes that is the case. Sometimes people are very sensitive. There are people that are just sometimes sensitive. And it's not necessarily anything that someone else has done, is just their personality. Or sometimes people just have, a lot of times, especially now, let's just talk about everything that's going on now in the world, with the pandemic and unemployment. And, for some people, the election was like, hard for them and stressful. Sometimes when you already feel like you're hanging on just in your regular life by a thread, it's easy for the smallest thing to be, the straw that broke the camel's back. To you, it may seem like nothing, but to me, like I'm stressed out. I haven't been working for however long. My kids homeschooling is going terrible. Whatever. I don't even feel good. All the millions of things that people sometimes are going through. You never know how fragile their feelings are in that moment. You never know. I know you've seen the quotes that say all the time, you never know what people are dealing with. You never know what people are going through. Shanetta, in that experience when you were the one that was hurt and the other person is totally oblivious, like you can't fault your sister because she didn't know. But I'm saying, in them instances where you can feel that something's not right, but you don't have to say nothing. I'm not gonna say nothing either. I'm talking about like those situations. He said that's the clarity that comes from communication, and we should all be like you and your sister. But personally, I'm not as open. I let my silence be the nonverbal cue. Right. And that's people, communication, everybody thinks that communication is always verbal. There's lots of ways to communicate. And sometimes, like Tawan said, my silence, that is my way of saying I'm hurting. And you feel the silence, you hear the silence or whatever, and you just choose, not to acknowledge it because it's not communicated in the way that necessarily you think it should be. Like, body language. Some people communicate with their body language. Like every time you see them, they look like they about to throw up or something. There's so many different forms of communication. And I'll say this again. I feel like if our communities, if we're going to make a difference outside of our four walls, like some of this stuff has to be talked about. Like somebody has to, really have the conversation and really do some self-inspecting. Yeah, stress will do that. I feel like we all have a responsibility. And I don't know, maybe it's just due to this pandemic that has made me start thinking about it more, my responsibility outside of my house, to the people that I encounter, to the people, that I ignore, the people that I walk past. Like I've really been thinking about that. Like how do I affect my community? And I'm not saying on no global scale, and it doesn't have to be, a grand gesture. Like one day I was at the grocery store. I got out, everybody's wearing a mask. You don't want to be near people. I saw this Caucasian lady. She was older, and she was like looking up under the car. And she was like trying to get under there. She was walking around it. And I sat in my car for a minute watching her do all this. And she just looking. So when I got out, I started to like walk right past her. I was like, just not the mood. And I was like, you know what? I turned around. I said, hey, are you okay? Well, she had some money she don't know where. Basically, she lost the money out of her pocket. And so she was hoping she had like dropped it under her car or whatever. So, I helped her look. I walked around the car a couple of times, let her pull up. Of course, we didn't find the money. But like, she was like, oh, thank you so much. I appreciate the help. She's like, I feel like, in that minute, she was getting like flustered because she couldn't really, really find the money. And I helped her, she was really nice. Oh, thank you. And she kind of pulled off. And in that moment, like, I feel like I had did something great. Even though I didn't find her money, I didn't even really help her. I just looked down a little bit, looked under the car. But, my hope when I was driving home was like, hopefully that extra 2 minutes I spent to try to help her, like, hopefully that one little act of kindness made a difference in her day. Like said Luke 17:1, Jesus says, "Disciple, that stumbling blocks will come, but woe to the one through whom they come." All right, Jacqueline, thank you for your comment. Thanks for joining us tonight. And I've seen the movies talk about pay it forward and all these different things. Like he said, you did do something great. I mean, like that's kind of the attitude that I'm trying to adapt. Like when I go out, the people that I come in contact with, like I want to not necessarily go the extra mile, but just extend a little bit of kindness. And hopefully, if I extend some kindness to you, maybe, you'll extend it to somebody else. I show you a little bit of grace in this area, maybe you'll show it to someone else. And I think, like those attitudes are some of the things we need to get back to, like, I think we both said, Trina, you and I before, like, as far as like knowing everybody on your block and knowing who your neighbors are. Like, I know, a few people on my block, but, just knowing the community that you're in and, being connected to people. And it doesn't have to be like a life-threatening connection, where inviting people in your house, but just that little bit of kindness, I feel like goes a long way. But if we don't ever have those conversations, or ever think about what we do or what we say or the things we don't do and say, how do we ever change it? How do we ever turn the tide? It has to start somewhere. Both of y'all just sitting there shaking your head. I
agree with that. Yeah.
And listen, again, that I'll blame some of this on being, a New Yorker. Like I'm good. Well, for the most part, I'm good. If I don't see you, if I don't talk to you, you be all right. That's kind of, the way I have been for a long time. And like in this last maybe year and a half, I have tried and endeavored to do things differently and do things better. Like when I look at my kids, I want them to be better than me in a lot of ways, not just, financially better, but, I want them to value connections and relationships with people. And I'm their example. So if they don't see me do it, it's not going to be a big thing for them either.
Yeah.
So I feel like our communities need us. Our communities, need us to make a difference, need us to start somewhere. You never know, how simple it might be just talking to your neighbor, how far that might go. He said, how do you respond to someone that speaks truth that hurts?
Say, wow. We're just being very blunt, aren't we?
But that is definitely one approach. I mean, I'll say for me, I don't know, because when I think about things that people, well, I don't know, the situation really would. I'm trying to get better with it, but like I kind of hold people to the same standard I hold myself to. So like if you're not that to me, then don't try to be that. You know what I mean? Like, if we don't have that relationship, I'm not really concerned with your truth. Like, you keep your truth to yourself. Like, like I said, I'm working on. He said, "Wow, always works." Right? I'm working on being better with things. For me, delivery would have to go. Would have to make a difference. And again, like even now, it would have to be. It couldn't be a stranger. Like we'd have to have some kind of conversation because for some kind of connection, because are you just saying something, for like shock and awe? Like, when you say something to somebody, you want, I guess it'd be my thought that you would want that person to be able to receive what you're saying, or at least at the very, hear what you're saying, something. But if, we don't have no connection, your words would be like, not even in one ear and out the other. I'm talking about going right over my head because, I don't think it would make much of a difference.
Man.
Spiritual butterfly, welcome. Blessings to you as well. Okay, make sure I acknowledge everybody so I don't get in trouble after the show.
I think answering Anthony's question, responding to someone that speaks the truth that hurts, it's real important, like you said, Sam, who is coming from. There's a small amount of people who can who can say something to me, and I know I don't really like people telling me. I know that about myself. But so if you're someone I know who loves and cares about me, then I can get it. Sam,
how did we lose her?
I don't know. Are we still on? It says live. Oh, there you go. I was about to say.
Listen, I thought y'all could see me in the background. That's why you had a minute. I just needed a minute. Don't she said,
it really depends on who it is and what they're saying. There's an even smaller circle of people who can tell me, tell me about my kids, like how to raise my kids. It's like 3 people. Yeah. Don't no.
Right.
Say nothing. And it's not because I think I know everything. It's because it's too close right here. You know what I mean? That's my babies. And it's been me and Jesus all these years. Where you coming from all of a sudden? Don't you know what I'm saying? So there's it depends on who you are and where you're coming from with. If I know you're coming to me with love and good intention, I can take that truth even if it hurts and evaluate myself. If you're coming from way over left, don't even start talking to me. I'm not even gonna receive you because who are you and why you stop? So
right. And it makes a difference too. Like I said, if the word truth, again, that's another one of those overused words, because what you may see as truth or, don't really apply to me. So, yeah, it definitely have to make a difference. So we need to make sure to maintain that circle. I mean, I think it's important to have a support system, to have a circle. But, to be honest, you do have to be able to guard your heart and your feelings, and your mind. You can't just let everything somebody say to you, get in just because they say it's the truth. Does the truth make a difference? Is there truth that is not truth? If God sent a stranger, would you dismiss what he was saying?
I think that if God was sending a stranger to give you something or to say something to you, that he would also prepare you to receive the message that was coming to you at that time. Because sometimes maybe we do need to hear something from an outsider or a stranger. But I believe that when it's truly sent by God, he prepares us to be able to hear from somebody that we don't know something that needs to be said to us. But I also think that we should all have at least one good person in our lives that doesn't mind telling us when we're wrong and telling us when we need to do something better. If everybody in your life is always kind of pacifying everything that you do and you're walking around going off on people, being mean to people, being rude to people, and nobody ever wants to stop you and say, hey, do you realize that you say you represent this, but you're displaying this character? Like, you need to fix that if you want these two to align together. I think we should have at least one person that we can hear from. And it might be different people for different aspects of your life. So like Katrina said, it's only about 3 people that can tell her about her kids. It might be, those 3 people that can say, hey, you need to do this with the kids. You need to do that with the kids. But it may be somebody else that can talk to her about something completely different. So it just kind of depends. Because I agree with you on the kids thing. It's only but a few people that can, that I'm gonna say, okay, yeah, you did a really good job with your kids. I'll listen to you. But I'm not. I'm really not.
Right. And that's what I was saying. Like that connection is gonna make a difference between what you saying being received and accepted, or just like, words that go right over my head. And at the same time, though, that's a level of common sense too, though. You can't let anybody shouldn't be able to speak into your life. Everybody shouldn't, everybody's words shouldn't just find their way and fester in your head and, in your heart anyway. So just because, you can tell me God sent you all you like, I hear you. But if that word doesn't resonate in my heart, and I'm not talking about maybe my initial knee-jerk response, I'm talking about, if it doesn't resonate in my mind and my soul don't agree with it, it's nothing more than words for me. If I'm wrong, my prayer is, oh Lord, you're gonna have to forgive me because that didn't work. You might have to send somebody else because for real, because I have said, like, I've prayed, like, okay, God, I don't know if I was supposed to get something out of that interaction, because if it was sent by you, I totally missed the message, whatever it was supposed to be. And I don't feel like there's anything wrong with that. Like, that's you have to be honest with where you are. And, I'm not going to try to pretend that just because you say God sent you, that, that is what it is. It's words and they sound good. But, you have to be mindful of everything, not just what you say, but what you allow people to say to you, because words can take root in your life. And you'll wonder, well, why I'm feeling like this? Because you don't listen to something somebody told you and they said it was the truth, or they said God sent them, or they said whatever, and you adapting on other people's words. Words have power. Regardless of what you say, I know I told you sticks and stones that make my bones, but words will never hurt you. That is a lie. Words hurt. Words hurt. And words can hurt you worse than somebody hitting you with a stick sometimes. At least that's how you feel. So, words hurt and words matter. So we have to be responsible for the words that come out of our mouth, for the words we let take root in our life. We all have a responsibility. I think, if you concentrate on having good intentions when you speak to people, I mean, that's the best you can do, is have good intentions. The good Samaritan was walked past several times before someone cared to stop for him without personal interpretation. Okay. Right. But I also feel like, that was kind of designed that way as well, though. Even with the Good Samaritan, God had a plan. The right person, the person that was supposed to stop, stopped. I can't, like, we can't argue the Bible. Like, yeah, that's not really like an arguing point. Like, we're all responsible for what we say. We're all responsible for the things, like I said, the things that we let take root. We have personal responsibilities. I just wanted people to start having a conversation and be mindful of what comes out of your mouth. Be mindful of, how you interact with people. That one little 2 minutes that you might spend could make the world a difference. Like I said, our communities are fractured. Really. I mean, our whole right now for the United States is in bad shape. And, we have to start wherever we can to make a difference. And so I feel, and it's my personal belief, that these conversations matter. These little conversations, it's a start. It's a place, to go from here. Maybe you go home and tell your family, or get offline and tell your family about this conversation. Have this conversation with your family. Call your sister, call your brother, whatever it is. But these conversations matter. We have to talk about the hard things. We have to express what we're feeling, what we're thinking in these times. Like, people can't read your mind. If you never say it, nobody will ever know. I want to be the best version of myself. Every day, like, that is my goal. And I know people getting ready for the new year when you start the new you, new me crap. But let's not just say it. Like, let's not repeat, the popular phrases. Let's actually endeavor to be better. It is understanding that we are not of ourselves, we are of the Father. I agree. These conversations matter. Let's close out this year. Let's finish strong. Let's finish with goal in mind for next year, like an attainable goal. And like I said, waking up every day and deciding to do one thing different than what you did the day before is a start. So that is my goal, to finish out 2020 strong and start 2021 with an even better frame of mind. So thank you guys so much for coming in. Thank you for the first time as Taiwan. Thank you so much. I went to high school with him. Jacqueline, thanks for coming through. Ashley, you're always coming through with the great comments. Spiritual Butterfly, it was great to have you guys. And the PhD guy, where did he go? Thank you for your comments. Elder McNair, of course. Oh yeah, PhD Michael Crawford. We appreciate the comments. We appreciate the support. We will be back next Tuesday again at 8:30 with us. We would love to have you back. And until then, you guys enjoy your nights. Stay safe. Wear a mask. Social distance. Don't forget to vote if you in Georgia. It's coming up. Let's get out and vote yet again. Until next week. Bye.